right. Greetings, family. It's Brother Shaq.
And Mama Fiyah.
For True Love Movement Tuesdays. It's about that time. We're going to give everybody
a little wave lady.
A little wave. A few minutes to come on in. True Love Movement Tuesdays. I think we might be on our fifth one, Mama Fiyah.
You said that last week.
Yeah, well, maybe it's the sixth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe.
I ain't even keeping up with them. I'm enjoying them, though.
Me too.
Definitely enjoying them. True Love Movement Tuesdays, every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Hey, Natasha.
Hey. There's so many things that are happening, particularly at this time of the evening on a Tuesday, and so we're thankful and honored that you all have chosen to ride with us again. You know, shout out to everybody who caught the True Love Movement Hour on Saturday on WBOK. As we are in our fifth year, we're celebrating all month. The month of November marks 5 years for the True Love Movement Hour. Mama Fiyah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, we talked about 5 and the energy of 5, as well as thinking about what's next.
Mm-hmm.
What's next for True Love Movement, as far as the True Love Movement Hour on Saturday in WBOK
is concerned.
So,
right?
Yeah, it was a simple show, a mild show.
Simple show, and it's on the True Love Movement Hour YouTube channel, along with several other new videos that are on the True Love Movement Hour channel. Mama found YouTube, namely one that I saw you shared today. That is an excerpt from a workshop from Manifest number 6, where True Love Movement presented Fixing What's Wrong with New Orleans Schools. Yes, there's a workshop by that title, and I would say that it actually worked, Mama Fiyah, because there were folks there in attendance who put what we collectively built in terms of an analysis together and have since created solutions. So the excerpt that's on social media right now on the YouTube channel is a little bit of the talk back from the group work that was done, which was magnificent. It was a great proof of how creative our people are and how we're able to solve our own problems just with what's in the room. So
yes, do for self.
Do for self. And
do for self.
Particularly now where there's, that recurring scandal and things in the public school systems and charter school systems and even private schools and all these things. Yeah, check out that video, and I'm gonna post the full workshop. It's probably about an hour and a half. Maybe we'll edit some of it down so you can see and maybe see what you can use out of that.
Hey, Kamal.
Hey, we got Kamal watching, huh?
Hey, Baba L.
Got Baba L.
Hey, Love Music Roses.
That's right, on the Facebook Live and coming to you also live on Instagram. So, what's going on, family? We're just waiting a couple of more minutes for some folks to come on in.
So we're doing a part 2?
Of?
The show from last week.
We're doing about what was promoted.
Part 2?
What was promoted is it's a how-to show.
But it's the
Part
same
2.
Part 2.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking.
I didn't frame it that way, no. But it is, it's a powerful show. Last week, as Mama Fiyah just brought up last week, powerful show when we looked at, why it was so hard and why is it so hard to love the black woman last week. And that was a very spirited show. That show is also on the True Love Movement Hour YouTube channel. If you missed it, you can check it out. For our Instagram family.
Peace.
You all
the
only...
Honorable Bound Gypsy.
Hey, what's happening? For our Instagram family, you all only caught about an hour of that because we know Instagram, it shuts down after an hour. But the folks on the True Love Movement page, they caught the whole 2 hours. That was a 2-hour show. And wanted more. They wanted part 2 for sure. So today's or this evening's show, we're gonna dig into part 2 with you do need to check that out, Monica. She's marvelous. It's there. Again, it's every bit of 2 hours, but well worth the watch. A lot of folks commented on that and had perspective. And we're going to invite you all to do the same thing this evening as we get into the second part of that, which is how to love the black woman. Tonight's True Love Movement Tuesdays is how to love the black woman.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe some of our viewers think they already know. Mm-hmm. So, but let's get into it, Mama Fiyah. How to love, and how do we love the black woman?
Well, can we talk about what last week's title was?
Yeah, let's talk about it. I announced it, but what
you said it?
Absolutely.
My bad.
So, right.
You want me to?
She was saying first, tell her that this purple looks amazing on her.
Oh, thank you.
Right on. Shout out to the Vince Craig. Oh, you know what?
Yeah. So purple is my favorite color, for one. Two, I'm rocking this NOLA Native shirt. This is like my favorite shirt ever. And so it has a spin, native of New Orleans, but also native of this land. And that's why I love this shirt so much. Thank y'all. And I got the purple one too. This is Tuesday and True Love Movement Tuesdays. And sometimes my self-care is like putting my earrings on and like wearing my favorite color and stuff like that. So I be fighting for it, y'all. You gotta, doing highly emotionally charged and emotionally heavy lifting work. I definitely gotta fight for my, somebody said the volume is a bit low.
Yeah, I made an adjustment. I think that was the headphones were on back in the
Okay, can you hear it now better?
That was Sonia Maria, I think, said something about the volume. Facebook family, give us a thumbs up if you can hear us. Okay. We've tried to resolve that and make the adjustment.
Okay. And so you're asking me how to love the black woman?
No. I wanted to start where you wanted to start from, is recapping last week, just for folks who may not have seen that particular show.
Yeah.
And so in last week, we dug into why it's so hard to love the black woman.
Why it's so hard to love the black woman? Yeah, we got it in.
Yes.
And we said so many different things.
Right.
And so tonight's show is about how.
How to do.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, and so is the Sister Monica says that. Okay, and Sonia says you can hear excellent.
Okay, good.
And again, for those of you who missed last week's True Love Movement Tuesday, it's on the True Love Movement Hour. All 2 hours of it is on the True Love Movement Hour YouTube channel, and you can check that one out too to bring you up to speed if you haven't. But now we're gonna get into how to love the black woman. Mm-hmm. And there's so many ways that we can go with that. But
yeah, I think we must encourage her growth and self-love. And not in a combative or ugly spirited bad energy type of way, because we can do that, right? We can do that to sisters and be like, well, you need to love yourself because you don't love yourself. Right. But promoting self-love. And what's the best way to promote self-love is through modeling, through your own actions of self-love, like saying, well, I'm loving myself right now, so and inspiring through modeling and action. What you say, Brother Shay?
Well, and I was thinking about something we were talking about earlier with regard to, what we're seeing in the way of the work, and how in certain, intimate partner relationship struggles, because obviously the black woman needs love outside of intimate partners, is, what I'm saying, but what it brought to mind, that was kind of heavy, because I remember we talked about it just briefly, and we looked at each other, and it's like, as sisters now are coming into an understanding of who they are and what has happened collectively and multi-generationally, specifically the black women, and of course for those handful of you who have took a peek at the Resolving Rape Culture curriculum and workshop, True Love Movement's been working on that for about 5 years now, and we dig very, very deeply into what all has happened historically with the black woman. But even as that's coming to light intuitively, and sisters are feeling that this shift that's happening, it's putting strain on a lot of intimate partner relationships, and it isn't what's underneath it isn't something new. It's just that now, as sisters are coming into their own and gaining a sense of their own power, and realizing that the time is now for that.
Oh yes.
There's a lot of fallout that's happening inside of intimate partner relationships. And so, for example, like what we were talking about earlier, is that the sisters just aren't taking it anymore, just trying to be the good wife or the good women or the good, whatever, in being dishonest and inauthentic in that. In other words, they're putting their humanity first, because that's one of the first parts of self-love and coming to that. And if they're not honoring themselves, first of all, then, that's where we know we got work to do. But once the sisters start honoring who she is, the relationship dynamics sometimes change, and she's more authentic, and
and like we said last week, she's saying no.
She's saying no. Yeah,
right.
Sisters are really saying no and meaning no, and kind of pushing, brothers to respond to that and to honor that. And what's happening on the brother side is the brothers are now having to really look deeply at where they are with regard to the dehumanization of the sisters and the whole possession thing, and that, this is mine, like this is my woman, or this is my girlfriend, or this is my wife.
And you're supposed to be doing this for me,
Right, and in accordance with whatever that socialized preconceived notion is, that really doesn't have anything to do with the sister's humanity. Now, that's not new. That's always been happening, but what it is now is that the sisters are, again, they're reclaiming their humanity, and it's looking rough. It's looking, ugly, and very, very difficult.
And it's hard.
It's hard.
It's very hard.
It's definitely hard. It's a hard process.
I've seen sisters say no and lose their basic needs. Like we said last week, because she's changing into finding her own power and finding humanness in her own humanity, she's losing, the provide, the stuff that a man was providing, which is totally not fair, but it's rock bottom. And rock bottom is definitely an opportunity to be exactly who you are, to be the authentic ones. And I'm, shouting out my sisters who are going through this right now. Bottom is not a bad place, right? Bottom just means there's nowhere to go but up. And when you do that authentically, when you do that really with real goals in mind and a real understanding of your power, you're going to be great. It may take some time. It may be hard. You may have to bump your head on some things. You may have to sit for a while, sit in some stuff, but through time and work, you're going to be okay, and you're going to be able to raise those babies okay. I just wish the brothers could understand fully how necessary this process is.
Sure.
There have been times where Brother Shaq has witnessed me break down. Sometimes sisters need to break down. Sometimes brothers need to break down, okay? But their ego and they're dealing with something different. They're dealing with a different type of change, right? Sisters, when we break down for real, it pulls off all that we have placed on us. It takes off the mask. It takes off the strong woman cape. It takes off all those things, and you hit spirit. You hit, authentic spirit. And the only place to go is to listen.
That's right.
To listen to yourself, right? And so it's a beautiful thing. Please know, when we have to break down, I'm not talking about nervous breakdowns. People always saying stuff about nervous breakdowns.
Right.
This is not that. This is I'm recognizing something about myself right now. And I just need to cry. I need to write. I need to run. I need to holler. I need to do something because, It is. My sister, the Honorable Brown Gypsy, she talked about black mother and daughter strains are real. So you said that we need more love than intimate partner relationships, and we need to expand the idea of love.
Definitely.
You know, we talked about that before. Expand the idea of relationships. We are having relationships when we walk out the door, you know, and talk to the mailman or talk to the person at the grocery store, or you on the phone with, you know, the phone company or whatever. And you know, the divine circle relationships are the main important ones, right? That's the ones we need to kind of cultivate, the divine circle relationships. For me, my divine circle is small. It's small on purpose. I've learned it's easier to manage smaller divine circles in my case, because I'm a lover, a supreme lover. And so if you're in my divine circle, you get all that gushy goodness and all that sweetness and all that stuff. That's what you get. And that's hard to do to a big, wide divine circle of people. But like the Honorable Brown Gypsy said, is that we had a show on black mother and daughter relationships.
Sure did.
And I think that understanding of black women and where we are and where we have been. Black women have been, you know, we talked about this last week, the bottom.
We got to look at the history.
Right? Look at the history, look at the context, the bottom. And so we have to, if we know self-love, we have to encourage and promote it, even if we're the daughter. If we're the daughter and we find the understanding of self-love for real, we have to encourage, model, and promote self-love, even for our mamas. Even for our mamas, for our grandmamas, for our aunties, for our daughters, for everyone when we found it. And of course, if you know, if you found it, you got it. You know, you got it, and you on that journey, you on the road, you know, to that place. So, yeah.
Well, you know, in line with that, something we'd have observed is how how now, like when we're looking at some of our sisters who are breaking down, Mama Fiyah, and you talked about, you know, from the intimate partner relationships, as well as how Brown Gypsy was mentioning, you know, the relationships with Mama. What we're able to look at, though, now, and even dealing with those sisters who are going through this metamorphosis right now, this breakdown to breakthrough, is that, you know, they have children. And so what we're seeing is understanding that what they're experiencing now, and all that their children are going through as a result of them coming into their humanity and reclaiming their sanity, and all of the things that go along with that, is that they were likely once children when their mother had a similar kind of circumstance. You know what I'm saying? We're seeing it. So when we see these very difficult, intense situations where these sisters are trying to manage, you know, children, and, you know, be good mothers and struggle through, because what you talked about, Mama Fiyah, was the way you said, like, as sisters are trying to come into their own, who are already in relationships, and that's causing a lot of a rift, to the point where the sisters are you know, leaving the relationships or whatever, keeping their humanity and what have you. We find that the love that they had is a conditional love. And
that the women had.
In other words, that they were receiving conditional love. Like they
were
receiving. They were being loved.
I want to be clear.
Well, I am being clear. I'm saying they were being loved so long as they were complying with whatever that situation was.
Definitely.
And then when they decided that this situation isn't uplifting my humanity,
but willing to stay. They're willing to stay. They're saying, you know, it's not uplifting my humanity, but brother, I need you to uplift my humanity. Like I need, you know, I need us to grow. I need us to go higher, to a higher level. Then the brothers are like, oh shit, you know, no, and exerting even more control and more power, and actually either rejecting the sisters and the babies. You know, like, it's serious, y'all, and a lot of it is based and rooted in an imbalance of ego.
and the control aspect that for those of you who were with us last week, we were able to establish without a doubt that as far as the way everybody has been socialized in America, that black women are always to remain under control. And the word under is important, under control.
Yeah.
At all times, without exception. And so if and when that black woman gets, quote unquote, outside of control or out of that control, then it's the divine duty of everyone else to bring her back into control. That's why they say she's getting out of pocket. She's getting out of her place. And usually that simply means she is asserting her humanity, but it's received as she's out of control or out of sorts or not where she should be. And so this is part of the socialization. We dug into that last week in terms of the history. And so the response when the sister is asserting her humanity is that, whoa, that's not what this is. You're supposed to do this, and that's how this is supposed to go. And what we're discovering is that we all have been socialized to expect sisters to stay there, to stay in that place, and to not, reclaim their humanity, to not assert themselves and advocate for themselves. And so when they do that, there's that involuntary response of no, you got to get back where you was at, because that's how I like it, that's how it's been. You know what I'm saying? Don't rock the boat kind of thing. And if the sister is adamant about that, and she is met with resistance, and she does end up leaving the relationship, in many cases, the love that she did have, but the love that was bestowed upon her from that partnership, that relationship, it changes in the way of not just feeling that warm, fuzzy feeling of love. We're talking about the action of love. And so as Mama Fiyah pointed out, they lose, basic needs. That's why so many sisters stay in all kinds of very abusive relationships, from emotional abusive relationships to actual physical domestic violence and other kinds of, relationships with sexual violence. All these kinds of things, they stay because, they don't have means to meet, food, clothing, and shelter. And so they'll remain in those situations for that reason. And that often signals that everything is okay. But everything isn't okay. But the way oppression works, the oppressor, as long as the oppressor is comfortable, then there's not really a problem, Mama Fiyah.
Well, there's one thing, these sisters stay in the relationship because they need their basic needs met. But then, or they'll leave the relationship and become bitter or become depressed, and never forgive, never let it go, never release it, and stay in that place. Because we were talking about mother-daughter relationships and talking about, there's an opportunity in the breakdown. I remember when my mom and dad got divorced, and my mama went through something hard. I believe she started counseling. I was young back then, but I believe she started counseling. She started working out, and just started doing some self-care and taking care of herself. She cried behind doors. She didn't cry in front of her children because there was something about her that was very prideful. But as soon as my dad found another relationship, she just stopped. She stopped all of her self-work. She just became a shadow of herself. And you are a shadow of yourself, and you have to stay in a relationship that's controlling, that's dehumanizing. You'll become a shadow of yourself. But I saw her get out of a relationship that was not good, but not release it, not release the relationship, not forgive and say, I got out of this relationship because I love myself. I got out of this relationship because it wasn't working. I'm going to work on me. That's the step that we skip sometimes too. It's like we get out of a relationship and then we get right back into a relationship thinking, this is he doesn't treat me bad, and this is, you need time. You need time, you need space, sisters, to actually break all the way down for the breakthrough. To actually break all the way down and build yourself all the way up new. When you break all the way down, everything is an opportunity.
That's right.
Everything is a time and an opportunity. So I think, just sharing that I think had she been vulnerable with us, had she said, hey, y'all, this is hard for me, that I'm, this is everything. And now I'm working on me, everybody.
Right.
Mama's working on me. So I need y'all love and support. I'm talking about mama to children,
Right.
mama to family. We also have a lot of ego that says, I got this together, or I got this, instead of saying, I need help right now. I need support right now, because I am coming up, making that decision in your mind. I'm coming up, but right now, while, I'm breaking through some stuff, and I need help and support. And so when we're talking about loving the Black woman, we're talking about loving her for real.
Yeah.
I don't know how real unconditionally loving her as products of America, like we talked about last week. Somebody would have to convince me that there are people who are actually Black people who are actually unconditionally loving each other in America.
Right.
I know that I'm working on unconditionally not only loving myself but my children as well. Hard, and I'm trying, to unconditionally love Brother Shaq, but I'm trying to be real about the fact that there are some conditions, right?
That's right.
There are some conditions to make sure that the Black family can stay together, to make sure that everybody got what they need, to make sure the lights are on.
That's right.
So I think the goal is to promote unconditional love of self for the Black woman.
I agree. Shout out to Nzinga. We got Brian Brown watching.
Yeah.
Mike Birdman on Facebook Live. Sister Rashawn. We got
Hey, my sister.
Sharice Bayham, Jasmine Watkins. What's going on, Kay? Kay Sharif is there with us. Of course, we got Sonia Marie, our sister. Our brother Vidal. What's happening, man? Yeah. And thank y'all for tagging y'all friends and folks y'all respect into this conversation. Please share it with them if they have the courage to confront something like this. Of course, we appreciate your comments, and we're going to do our due diligence to respond to you live right here, right now.
My little sister Rain says exactly. I experienced low self-esteem and depression. I had to find myself and understand that love starts with yourself. And if you love you, you can love others genuinely. That's right. That's self-love 101. And people say, I've been seeing a lot of posts like debunking these kind of things that people say, these cliche or rhetoric kind of things that people say, that, you have to love yourself in order to love someone else. People are saying, oh, that's not true. You can be broken and love someone, and you can be this and that. But we're talking about healthy love here.
Right.
We're talking about the type of love that has that give and receive flow, as we talked about before, where you don't feel like you giving, and the other person taking, because we can get caught in those relationships too.
Right.
Because we want to feel important. We want to feel like we're the, we're the giver and we provide, emotional support for people. But when you love yourself, you provide it, when you love yourself, you provide it for yourself.
That's right.
You're not looking for somebody to come and fill a hole for you. You're not looking for somebody to fix you. You're not looking for anything like that. And so I think it's part of like womanhood, like part of. I was telling some sisters the other day how I spoke to my daughter when she was in the womb about self-love. Right? My daughter is my baby. She is my 5th child. And so I got better and better through my pregnancies and parenting all of my children. And so when I was pregnant with her, I planted the seed of self-love for her and talked to her when she was an infant about loving herself. I talked to her, once I knew, I talked to my boys who were bigger about the importance of loving themselves too, because it's important for boys to get that it's not just a girl thing.
Right.
It's not just a woman thing to love yourself. And promoting that. But I think it should be a part of what we do with our children. We should teach them, and so they can understand the idea of self-love, because we go out thinking that we talked about the American scheme last week, and we go out thinking, okay, I'm done with high school, now I go to college,
Right.
and either I have a high school sweetheart and we stay together forever, or I find my man in college and we get married and we have children, and it just goes like that.
Right.
We forget the big step. There's a huge big step. There's a step of finding your real authentic self, being that and loving it. Then moving on to connecting with people.
Right
On an intimate level.
I would like to add to that, as you were talking, I was thinking, though, particularly when you were talking about your mother.
Yeah.
And the sister Rain was talking about being depressed and low self-esteem. And I think, I got to go with history to look at how we come to be like that. And historically, all of the relationships that black people have had over the last, 400 years in America particularly, have come from a deficit. They're rooted in lack. I mean, we've not been healthy, whole human beings. Coming to another healthy, whole and human being and saying, let's establish an empire. Let's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's important. It's not a diss at all, but we have to look at how we come to be here. And the fact that in general, the relationships between black people are rooted in lack, that everyone is approaching it from, what can I get out of this thing? We're not walking into it with a sense of our own power and contribution, saying, I want to connect with this person and, build an empire with them and a legacy for our children, for centuries to come. We're not doing that. We're getting together because if I make $8 an hour and you make $8 an hour, together we make $16 an hour. We could get out of a 1-bedroom and get into a 2-bedroom in the right neighborhood. I mean, we're coming together for those kinds of things. We're coming together because the sex was really good and I kind of like you and we can get along okay. So we hook up for that. I mean, we're not, and I'm not painting this with a broad stroke and saying everybody that does this, but we're not automatically healthy. We can't be in America without getting America on you.
Yeah.
So we have to look at the origins of how we even relate to one another. And if we look back as far as we can on the plantation, well, that wasn't no healthy relationships. We can't have a healthy relationship with somebody when the slave master coming in there and getting in between y'all and having sex with the man and the woman and raping everybody and such. You can't have no healthy relationship like that as a whole healthy human being. And
under the oppressive, regime of shackles and lynchings and, you mentioned rape and just completely being
trauma.
Dehumanized. And, we are still under oppression.
Absolutely.
We are completely. And so Sharice Baham says, unconditional, is it truly loving regardless to what they do? And I think, yes. I think it's like how we were taught God loves. Like, no matter what you do, you are still loved,
Yeah, because you're not your behavior.
You're right.
That's the thing. You are not your behavior.
That's true. And the thing about it is, who can do that? I try very hard to do it for myself. Of course, I've connected to myself in a way.
Right.
But then even my children, even my children, you keep that love going no matter what. They can come on home. But then, what happens when they really do something?
Right.
I know how many mothers and daughters or mothers and sons or fathers and families are estranged because of what someone did, And then there's another question, and thank you for asking that, Sharice. So Brother Mike Birdman says, I'm watching the mother of my children go through that breakdown y'all talking about, but it's transitioning into separation versus togetherness. Any advice on how it can help talk to our children through this?
Right.
That's a really, really great question.
It's a great question.
And thanks for asking.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, you have to, talk to your children. I'm an advocate of talking to children. in a developmentally appropriate way, right? Depending on the age of your children, you tell them what's going on. And I'm sorry to hear about the separation versus togetherness.
Right.
I think whether y'all are together or separated, I think encouraging and promoting self-love in your children's mother is so important. It's everything.
Right.
Your children's mother, in this breakdown, we want to also promote the breakthrough and the rise up. Right? That's what we want to promote. Even if it hurt, even if you feel like it hurts you, because it's going to hurt ego. It's going to hurt ego. It's going to hurt to see somebody break down, But it's a necessary thing. The breakdown is necessary. I think as far as the children are concerned, human beings go through these things. Black women, black men. Because, Brother Shaq, have you ever had a breakdown?
Oh, absolutely.
To come up?
Absolutely.
So this is not just black women doing this. We're just centering it on black women right now. Because I think black men also have a process.
Definitely.
That they have to go through too.
Definitely.
And just saying we are separating right now because we want to love each other better and we want to love you better.
Right.
Well, we want to center the relationship around the love we have for you.
We're seeing that scenario that our brother Mike is talking about play out frequently.
Yes, and the children get thrown in a crossfire.
More often than not. But the thing is, that scenario ends up being the honest one. Like, that's where the truth ends up being.
In true love movement.
Like the truth ends up being that this ain't gonna work, and that really, when you start looking at it, it wasn't ever gonna work. There were all kinds of usually red flags and things along the way. But as I was saying earlier, we often hook up from a deficit. We often connect with somebody because we're looking for them to do something for us that we haven't even done for ourselves, or we're not necessarily even acquainted with all that we need and all that we require to be whole, healthy, and human beings. We just simply haven't done that work. Not because we're bad people, but we're taught, we're socialized that we ain't nothing, and that everything outside of us or everyone or some other entity even has power, and then we don't.
Yeah.
So it puts us, I think I said that last week, that we really start disconnecting from ourselves very, very early. That's why we're so fascinated with other people, because we're disconnecting from who we are. We don't really know anymore, so we're just kind of walking around trying to find ourselves in other folk. And when we think we've got it or we got a glimpse of it, let's hook up. I done found it. I done found you. I done found the thing. And even in saying that, we're saying, I got me a possession. I got something for me in this thing. Mm-hmm. So we're out here moving from a deficit. Mm-hmm. So in moving from a deficit, and your partner, the person you're hooking up with, is also trying to get something. I mean, how many times, those of you who are watching, and we talked a little bit about that last week, but how many times have people said that because they're in difficult situations, usually the kind of situations like Mike was talking about, sometimes when things fall apart and people break up and they move on and children are affected and it hurts the children and they don't want to go through that and it feels really bad to them, what they do is the children, as a child, I know that I did it, and I talked to brothers who did it, Mama Fi, and I'm sure, we've had general conversation with folk, but I've had many brothers tell me that they suffered through their childhood and, through a breakup of their parents, or their parents not being together, or parents having very unhealthy relationship, whatever the case was, daddy gone or mama doing, whatever the case is. But what they do and what people do is we decide as children, we decide as hurt children, that this is some bullshit. So you see, when I grow up, and it's my turn and I get married, I ain't never gonna do this shit to my child. Mm-hmm. I ain't never gonna, leave the mama, or I ain't never gonna leave my children, or I ain't never gonna live in a different house and we have all this bullshit. I ain't never gonna do that because this is fucked up and it hurts and I don't like it. We do that, and we really, we catalog that and we hold that.
And you stay.
And when it is our turn to have a relationship, we got that value and that standard in our head. So then when we see all them red flags that this person is not the right person, we hold on to, well, no, I just got to hang in there. And so we actually end up more times than not recreating the same kind of shit,
same scenario
that we went through, that we hated, and we didn't want to do that. But the reality is, we can't do what we don't know how to do. We do what we saw. That's
right.
that's what we had experience with. We don't know how to stay together because it takes
Unless
skill.
you intervene, unless there's some intervention.
Unless there's an intervention.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about on our own devices, we fuck it up. You know, not because we're bad people, but that's when we find out how limited we are in terms of skills, even though we have a desire and good intentions and want to have, you know, really good values and be certain kind of people and certain kind of parents and all that. We just don't have the skill, you know, and we ignore the red flags, and we find ourselves in situations that are unhealthy. And then we have children who are mixed up in those situations that are unhealthy. And we're really setting another generation in motion to do what we've done. Not because we're bad people. This is the shit we experience. But if we go back to the plantation, and I know y'all tired of me saying that,
but
I
that's
mean,
where it's
this
rooted.
this is where our whole relationship dynamics come from.
That's
this
where
is
it's
it.
rooted. That's
This
where
is
it's
it.
rooted.
So not judging that, but we need to have that kind of analysis as we're interacting with one another, so that we can have the right level of compassion to be able to cultivate something, something healthy.
I think what's beautiful about the breakthrough is that you're able to become new, and you're able to do things differently. Right, so that there is a solution. Because if we say it's always rooted in slavery, what can we do about that? You know, what can we do about that if that's our background, that's in our DNA, that's in our history? We can change it, though. We can make a choice and intervene in ourselves and change it.
Right.
And cells, meaning our cells, cells.
Look at L.
Baba L says, imagine what the youth go through when parents stay together in a bad relationship.
That's right.
I've seen it. How many people do we see, stay together for the children, and as soon as the children graduate from college,
they're like, see ya.
Right.
And the children are totally like, they messed up, like, what the fuck?
Or parents, children who witness two people who's supposed to love each other hurt each other.
Right.
Speak to each other bad, fight, or all these things is very devastating for children. I think for Mike, co-parenting. Listen, co-parenting is real, and it can really, really work when when you anchor the love into the children, into the love and the needs for the children. I know co-parenting works because I'm in a co-parenting relationship. What I've also seen is that when people separate, they want to use the children as pawns.
Yes.
They want to say, okay, well, if you're going to go and be with somebody else, I'm going to take the children and you can't see them no more.
You can't see the children.
Because I don't want the children with her. And I don't want the children around him. And these kind of things.
Right.
And we start a tug of war with a human being.
Right.
A tug of war with a baby. A tug of war with toddlers and young children. And it's very sad and very sick. But like I said, if someone is rooted in self-love, like if somebody's processing their self-love, encourage it in the other person by your modeling of it. If no one is doing self-love, the separation is best.
Right.
So that both can do the self-work and both can find it. And sometimes separation might be separating from the children, and that's hard, and I understand that. But somebody got to get their mind right fast and really start the process of the rise of finding self-love for themselves.
I'm gonna find that scenario you just described about keeping the children away is a very common thing that ends up happening. And I wanted to just say this because when that occurs, it's because someone has lost something. The parent who may be the custodial parent or whatever the case is, they have lost something in the dissolution of the relationship, or just the fact that it isn't whatever thing that they thought it was in their head. Because many times we're in relationships that we create in our heads, or these things that we think should be, and we really not even connected to that particular person. Is that person is in a role. And I talk about us playing roles a lot because we're socialized into playing certain kind of roles before we even know who we are as people, before we really do that investigation of who we are as just human beings. We're socialized into roles, and this is the way that I should be. This is the way I should respond. This is the way that I, this is the kind of person I should be, and there's nothing horrible about that, but it sells you short on developing your own humanity. So then you're playing a role. So you're playing a role, and you want to be a good man, or you want to be a good woman.
Come on.
Or you want to be whatever those things are that you think they are, and so you're working very diligently to be perceived as a good man or as a good woman, and it's eating at your soul because you don't even like this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like you're very dissatisfied with them. You're dissatisfied with yourself in some cases. You don't necessarily like who you are with them. I mean, there's all these nuances and things that go into the dynamics of a relationship, dissolving. But when it does happen, the person, who wanted to keep the relationship has lost something. And so because they were in that relationship, that relationship was part of their possession. For some folk, it'd be part of their identity. So we got a lot of shame in that. Mama Fiyah mentioned ego. So there's all those kinds of things that are in there. And so like Sister Nzinga is saying, yes, it's not real. It's hard. It's too hard and it's miserable. But a lot of times people are miserable in the relationship. Then they break up, and then they're miserable after the relationship. They just, and that's an indicator that you are miserable.
You got to break down
but you're miserable.
To break through, right?
You're the common denominator, and you're miserable, and so you're miserable everywhere you go. You're miserable with somebody, and you're miserable without somebody.
And there's help
it's a great
for that.
opportunity to look at you.
Yes, it is.
That's the opportunity.
And this is what I tell some people who are in the process of breaking up. We have to learn how to break up. Right? Like there's a good way to break up. There's an honorable way to break up. There's a humane way to break up without harm. That people can dissolve a relationship, even with children, without harm. And I think you have to have that idea that you don't want to hurt somebody.
Right.
You know,
and
that you don't want to hurt yourself and you don't want to hurt anybody else.
And that's
but
hard.
there's a way, there's a right and there's a right way to break up. There, and that's hard, right? So my sister Uncouth Art says, I found that reviewing my lifelong relationship with to love itself has shown me what I need to focus on to not pass my childhood traumas on to my children. You have to be intentional.
Very reflective.
Yes, you
Very
have to be
reflective.
completely intentional not to pass your stuff on to your children. You have to do things on purpose to be able to not do that.
Right.
So I love that. Thank you. And then the Honorable Brown Gypsy says, we put more faith in someone else changing than what we have in our own process.
That's right.
I find it easier to have patience when we have clear goals for who and where we want to be. Right? Like this is all about self. And it's very important for us to do this work before getting into a committed relationship.
Thank you for saying
before having children. And listen, it don't happen that way all the
don't
time,
usually
right?
happen.
And not for Black people. We kind of just go with the flow or whatever. We don't plan. We don't, consciously conceive. We don't, do these things that are necessary for the best case scenario to happen. We kind of just fall into this thing and make children, and then we look around and we say, damn, how did I get here?
Right.
Right. Go ahead.
I was looking at Elle says that hurting someone during a breakup is not always physical.
Right.
Of course not. I mean, a lot of this is emotional, largely because someone has lost something. That's what we're saying. Somebody feels that they've lost something, they've given something up, and they're not happy about that. And they're not happy about the loss and the shame and the guilt and all the other things that they're having to experience that they may feel is being imposed upon them in the midst of this breakup. So they don't want to feel, as the sister said, misery needs company. It doesn't really need it, but too often it finds it, as Sister Natasha, it finds company. It attracts it because, like I say, True Love Movement, that if, hurt people hurt people.
That's right.
And in the same way, though, healed people, just imagine what healed people can do for our people.
Heal people.
Right. So I asked, for example, I'd asked someone who had brought me someone to fix, because that happens.
No, we ain't in the fixing business. People
bring us folk and essentially say, fix them. When they start talking about everything that's wrong. And they don't, we're listening, and then they're saying, essentially, I want you to fix them.
Yeah.
So I said, Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Somewhere to start. I said, but what about you? How healthy would you say you are?
Come on.
And it was like, oh, well, I know I need to talk to somebody, and this happened. And I said, well, what exactly happened to cause you to make that assessment? Because I'm not telling nobody what they need. I'm listening to them tell me, because they know better than I. But as they went on telling me, I said, well, maybe that has something to do with why the person you brought me to fix is responding to that. What about that? Could that be the case? And they was like, yeah, I kind of thought that might have something to do with it. But still, they brought this person there for me to fix. So you see, there's a certain amount of denial that happens. And really, this is what, and I want y'all to stay with me. This is what being not fully sane looks like. You see that? That you can acknowledge that something has happened with me that's not resolved, that I haven't began to deal with. And I'm in a relationship with somebody at the same time, but I want you to fix them because I don't like the way that they're acting. That's what we're thinking. We're not thinking, well, wait a minute. Could I have some influence? And the reason we don't think that way is because then I would have to be responsible for the way that I'm acting. I would have to be responsible for my behavior. And the reason why we're not so eager to take responsibility for our behavior is because we hurt and we know somebody done did us some shit. Mm-hmm. So that hasn't been resolved. That hasn't even been acknowledged. And so here somebody else is saying, but look what you're doing. And the person is thinking, but what about what happened to me? Ain't nobody make that right. So we have the whole idea that the problem essentially is over there. Even though I'm the common denominator, the problem really is over there. Mm-hmm. And the idea that you're going to bring somebody in to get fixed, we don't attract what we want, family. We attract what we are. So if you're having those kinds of problems in an intimate situation, you've attracted that person because that person vibrates just as you do. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's a tough thing for us to look at, but it doesn't happen. They don't just come out of the sky. Like, we really call them to us, and it really has everything to do with where we're at. That's why we're saying the self-love part of it really does take care of that, because then you're responsible. You've done the work. You know what loving you looks like because you're doing it already. And so you're training people who are going to be close to you on just how that's done. And either they are compelled to do that or they're not, because it's their choice. And they'll let you know pretty early. But if you ain't sure and you don't really love yourself and you kind of out in the dark hoping somebody else is able to read your mind and do all the things to make you happy, which is not real, then you've given all your power over to them. And so they're trying to figure out how they can be happy. And so now only one of you is being happy, and then you don't like that. And then you say, look what they did to me. And then you get to be a victim. And then when they decide that, hey, you know what, the relationship ain't working out, you feel like you've lost something and you want to get back at them. So you want to hurt them. And that could be physically, it could be emotionally. If there are children involved, we talking finances, all kind of stuff. You talked about Mad Day, Mama Fiyah. We know that's a big part of it, But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to answer some of these comments. Beautiful comments. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. Sonia Maria says, it would help, but if a person does not have these healthy, positive examples, then you are learning as you go. Right. And we have to learn as we go.
We are.
And when we get down to the authentic place, like when we break down to the authentic us, right, we connect with spirit.
Right.
We connect with spirit. Spirit is the grounding force in all of us. It's the voice, the sweet, still voice that we hear that has all the answers.
That's right.
That is our connection to the Creator. That is our connection to the universe. And a lot, if you haven't found spirit, we don't need to be in relationships.
Right.
We need to really try to find essence. You could call it whatever you want. You could call it essence. You could call it
you. It's just finding you.
Right, you. And we talk about wellness being mind, body, spirit alignment.
That's it.
Right? When I'm saying our mind, my mind is telling me this and my heart is saying this, and then spirit, that's not real. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's all some spook shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, And spirit is the guide. It's like the GPS for us.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. And so I think digging deep to find the real you, to find the real you can't go wrong there.
Can't go wrong.
And then you make it up as you go, but you are also led. Okay.
I wanted to dig in that, Mama Fiyah.
Yeah.
Brother Baba Ellie says, those conversations were off limits to children coming up, so haven't been taught how to get into a relationship other than physical.
Yes,
so see,
that's right.
So now we understand, as we always talk about on the True Love Movement show, the history part of it, that this is a multi-generational thing. And for our parents who made these kinds of conversations, as Baba El says, off limits, we have to understand that very likely their parents did the same kind of thing to them. So they're not even in a position to teach what they don't know. Meaning we've got a long history of the way we have coped with what has happened to us is that we've denied that it's happened to us. That's how we've coped with it. We had to do that. We had to do that in order to continue in many cases, because there was no counseling. There was no therapy. There was no I need to sit down and talk to somebody about what has happened. And I'm talking about on that plantation and everything since. I mean, listen, we are just now coming to a point, family, when we can even sit here and talk and analyze to try to get our minds around what has happened to us as a people.
Yes.
I want y'all to understand that, because a lot of folks are like, all right, well, what do we do? What do we do? They want to take action.
Yeah.
But we haven't, and I get that, but we haven't even built a full enough analysis about what has happened, let alone had some kind of consensus building on what do we do and what does it look like. I mean, doing the math, if we was on that plantation for 249 years, then we've been off it for 150 some odd years, 153 years. That means we was on it longer than we've been off it, almost a whole century longer that we were on the plantation.
Yeah.
So I'm saying I can't get my mind around what our ancestors experienced under those circumstances. And I'm a pretty smart dude, but I can't get my mind around that. You know, I want to say that to say that there's no way that I could be arrogant enough to think that I'm going to just flip it around and figure it all out. I don't think that's the goal here.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
And I just want to bring this up, and this is what I've been thinking about lately, and maybe we'll do a show about this. But if anybody who's ever experienced trauma or remembers the trauma they experienced, especially if it's ongoing trauma, when you're in the midst of that, there's a disassociation that happens, right? Mm-hmm. For me, let me just say that I was a victim of ongoing sexual abuse for years. And so I had to learn how to disassociate from my body, because it was happening to my body. Mm-hmm. It hurt. I didn't like it. And so during those times, my mind had to go another place. Right. And I do believe that our people on the plantation were disassociated.
Absolutely.
And it took me a long time to reassociate. In my lifetime, it can happen, right? Mm-hmm. But it took me a long time to bring my mind back into my body and anchor it with spirit. Right. And so can we understand that we are just starting to reassociate? As a people, though, as a collective, we have just started to reassociate. So be gentle on yourself, but do the doggone work now. Because let me say that this is a movement that is happening. It's a movement that is cosmic. It is a movement that is metaphysical, and we cannot see it. It is a movement that is universal. It is happening. So join the movement and really reassociate back into your body. It's hard, and I understand, but you got to fight for it. You got to fight for bringing that mind back into the body, feeling it and finding spirit and anchoring those three things in order for you to achieve wellness. That is the breakthrough. Yeah, you got to break down to break through. I love that, Brother Shaq.
Right on.
Break down to break through. So reassociation, it's important.
Shout out to Purpose Bryant. We got joining us, Renata Raphael Robinson. What's happening?
And Baba L talked about getting into relationships relationships for the physical part. And I
Right.
know we getting ready to leave Instagram.
Oh yeah, that's right, Instagram.
Yeah,
So
Instagram, come on over to Facebook.
the link is right in the bio on the True Love Movement Instagram page. We've got 30 seconds remaining, and you can jump over to the Facebook Live, which we're going to go into.
Come on
We're just not
over.
going. Come on over. We thank y'all for tuning in over there on Instagram. Instagram family, you're welcome to come on over to Facebook Live. Facebook Live family, don't you go nowhere, because we just kind of really starting to get into it. But for Instagram and for this particular iteration of the show, True Love Movement Tuesdays, wholeness.
Wholeness.
All right, we'll see y'all over
Thank y'all
there.
for joining.
Thank y'all. We'll see y'all on the other side.
All right now.
Right on.
All right.
And so, here we go. So,
Cool.
Facebook Live family, thank y'all for hanging in there. And of course, some of our Instagram folks will be coming on in.
I wanted to talk about that. Did you want to say something?
No, I wanted to talk about what you were saying, the disassociation
Oh,
piece.
go ahead.
No,
yeah.
I don't want to take anything away from that. But what we're saying is compassion, and the work that True Love Movement does specifically is we help our people reclaim their humanity, or rehumanization, if that's a better way for you to think about. And it's a very particular and specific work that has to happen for us to offset the trauma that we've endured for all these centuries. I'm saying that because we're not upset with our people for being how our people are. We're compassionate with our people and with ourselves, and we're gentle because we have an idea of what 400 years of this level of trauma can do to the minds, spirits, and we know DNA of our people. It did not kill us, and yes, we survived, and we are quote unquote the strongest. But because we're here, we survived, but we didn't do that without a cost. So there's what has happened, Mama Fiyah, is the fact that I'm not dead and you didn't kill me. We're equating that with living our best life. And we're not nowhere in the realm of living our best life. We don't even have an active memory of what our best life looks like, particularly on this soil here in this land, because there is no history that we can access here in this land where we can go back to. I'm not saying it never happened. I'm just saying we can't connect to it. So we are moving forward, learning as we go.
We are definitely learning as we go. And I'm not going to say we can't. I'm not going to say, because listen, if there's ancient DNA still in us, we remember.
Right.
We can remember. You are the historian. I'm the futurism. I'm the lady that thinks
Futurist.
about the futurist. I'm the lady who thinks about
You're the whole
the
future out here,
right?
right.
I'm a lady who says, especially women, we have a guttural innate connection to spirit. If you've ever had a child, you know this. Even if you haven't had a child, you know you have a connection to spirit. You know spirit. And so this is ancient. These things are ancient in us, and yes, we can grab hold, and yes, we can, because I don't like the word can't.
Right.
I don't like, because that seems like there's no answer to this thing. It seems like, we just broken, and there's nothing we can. I'm not thinking.
That's not what I meant
think
either.
that way.
I should
Right.
provide context with can't access, meaning
We haven't been able to.
the actual physical data per se, to go say, we can just go right over there at that time when we were healthy and whole here in America. That doesn't particularly exist.
No, there's no.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like that we can just go, like we can Google, like we can't Google it. This is something that we have to reach back in our DNA,
Yes,
which
yes.
is a different kind of a process that we definitely have the capacity for.
Yes.
The sister says intuition. That's great. But I would like to say part of our challenge is, and I know you're going to get into this, because we have the disassociation, we don't even trust ourselves. Therefore, we don't trust our own intuition.
That's right.
So many times we get a sign that we ask, Lord, give me a sign. All these things, but we don't trust it because we have not reconnected with our humanity.
Yes.
And that's an indicator that, yes, we have the function of intuition, but we're not able to make good application of the intuition to where it serves us, so we
Yes.
continue to produce the same kinds of dysfunctional results that the sister Sonia Maria was talking about, only because we haven't really looked at it in the ways that we're talking about this evening.
That's right. And let me say this. I have met so many magic sisters, right? And this, I know you don't like talking like this, because this is the history man that wants it in black and white and all that. That is the strength of a black man, right? He has those strengths, but he needs to trust me, because we have the spiritual strength, sisters. We have this magic. I don't care who say what about magic. I know I got it. I'm clear, and these beautiful young sisters with all of this magic have been coming to me lately, and it's telling me that you got it, queen, that you got it. All it takes is a real big push to find out who you are and to trust yourself, right? Because when you love yourself, what's next? Trust, respect, honor,
That's right.
all the self-worth, self-value, all of those things that they just come naturally when you actually do the work to love yourself. And so my magic sisters, this is what I know about intuition, is that when you have a womb, you know how people talk about, I got gut intuition, or my gut said this and that. It ain't the gut, it's the
A
womb.
little bit lower.
It's the womb. I'm gonna say it 3 times for the person in the back. It's the womb. Okay? You have a magic pot of healing, a magic pot of creation, right? I talk about it in the womb work chapter in the Keep It High book.
That's right.
And listen, some of these sisters done read the Keep It High book and changed, and they won't change everything, right? And sometimes it's the relationship they're in.
Right.
Brothers, be ready when my sisters read that book to support them on their journey of the breakdown to the breakthrough.
Right.
Please understand it's going to happen. That book is powerful. It's big, but we got to get into that book, because our wombs, listen, intuition and magic is real for the black woman. It is also for the black man.
Indeed.
Because she creates him, but she plants the spirit, the seed in him. She plants the seed of intuition and spirituality into her children, and she does it also for the black man. I remember first meeting Brother Shaq. I remember teaching him spirit. And you may not, internalize that, but I remember that. I remember in all of my relationships teaching that. But I was also in my past relationships still hurting. Even though I was a magic woman, even though I had intuition, I was still hurting. So the point is, heal, so that you can utilize and use your magic to be able to create the future that we all want. The future that we all need. This is what we have, and that's the reason why white people got their foot on our neck so hard.
Right.
It's because we have the answers. We have all the answers. Just being purely who we are, just being authentically who we are. That's the reason why they got us fighting each other. That's the reason why we so oppressed. That's the reason why in every damn system in America is against it. It's because we have the answer to completely overthrow and turn over.
Just get away.
Turn around.
And get away from that sucker,
Yeah, I mean, turn it all around. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about his ass backwards and to turn it all around.
Backwards ass. You're damn right. When you were talking about, teaching me spirit, I often say that, the black woman is our teacher.
Yes.
And, you've taught me, many things. And spirit, in terms of the teaching, a lot of times it looks like remembering.
Yes,
You know
it
what I'm
does.
saying?
It is remembering.
Right. It isn't the way we think about teaching.
Like now you got a new thing.
In the sense of the way we're socialized and learned in school, where there's the teacher that's there and, trying to put something into you.
Yes.
Our people, we remember, we reassemble. That's what the word remember means. It's 2 words, read to do again, member means to assemble. And so you reassemble. So if you're reassembling something, that means it's already there and you're just putting it back together in its order.
That's right.
So we're reorienting, and you definitely stimulated that for me because that is your role. You know,
That's
the black
my
woman
role.
is our
That's
teacher.
my role.
Our
And
first,
when you, and I'm not gonna use the word allow, because let and allow is rooted in patriarchy.
yeah,
It's
it's a
rooted in
power
control
dynamic, right?
and power. But it's important for the black man to encourage
Right.
a black woman to be a teacher, to be in her natural strength.
Yeah.
Right? The natural strength which you are. And that's hard when people want to tug a war on who the most powerful, who the most spiritual, who the most this and that.
Right.
It's not a competition, y'all.
That's white organizational culture that is, you know, again, that's part of our socialization. We talked about it last week about fighting the whiteness that's not only in our mind, but the whiteness that's in our heart. I mean, this is some really, really deep shit and deep work that we're talking about doing in terms of overcoming that. And in order to overcome that, we have to confront it. And many times we don't want to confront those things that are right here inside of us. So we want to hook up with somebody else to kind of distract us away from that. And then we can find out all of the shit that's wrong with them, or we can try to fix them. You see what I'm saying? Because see, they need help. They need to be fixed.
But
and
you don't realize you attracted that.
You attracted them. So, you know, the relationship that you end up having is you. You just attract you.
Come on, brother.
And sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow, but it's an opportunity for you to confront those things about you that other person is showing you that needs work, so that you can elevate or level up and go, you know, move towards your highest self. So I also wanted to add too, while you were talking about that, the magic of the black woman is a very, very real thing. And
please know.
Everybody really knows it.
Everybody wants some.
But everybody really does know how magical the black woman is. That is the reason why she is the most oppressed person, particularly in America, but worldwide. Like the need, the necessity to control the black woman has always been there. And it's rooted in every system and institution that exists in America, for sure, and everybody else models their bullshit after America. But you look at, everyone oppresses the black woman. The fact that she must remain under control, that she is always checking her own tone. She been checked so much, she checking herself now. She checking her sisters. I mean, it's so real, and people aren't thinking about, why is all this on the black woman like that? It's because of the magic. It's because of the magic, and the fact that the fear is that if the black woman realizes and remembers who she is, that she's going to flip that oppression around and fuck over everybody. But I suspect that's not really the case. I don't think the black woman is interested in doing that. Not when she's healthy, not when she's whole. She's not interested in it.
I have actually never heard that before. I heard you say it yesterday, that people are scared that the black woman is going to come and create destruction and all. And like,
well, because they know how bad they have been. We've all been complicit in maintaining the oppression on the black woman, because we're socialized to do that. We think it's normal. We think she ain't supposed to say nothing. We think she's supposed to ask for permission. We think she's supposed to be under control. That's why when it's anything other than that, people are uncomfortable. They're like, what's wrong with you? What's the problem? Why you always got a problem with something? And no one's looking at, well, how is this sister, you know, standing up for her humanity? She's not doing anything abnormal, but she's so powerful. So there's a desire to want to control her mind on fire.
Oh yeah,
I'm
control
convinced.
her mind, control her body, and control her spirit.
Right, I'm convinced.
Yeah.
Because everything demonstrates that. So our show tonight, for those of you just joining us, is how to love the black woman. As we've kind of recounted some of the things, and shout out to the sister.
Ife Maya, hey my queen, what's up?
Roberta Marlene, we got her. What's happening? And so, Mama Fiyah, let's get into some solutions and how-tos, given that we've laid it out in terms of what we're up against in loving the black woman. Because it seems as though, you know, with some of the ways that she's acting, some folks would say, well, she's unlovable oftentimes, and you know, she act like this and she act like that. I see there's a great long history of people judging the black woman or black women without knowing her situation, which is very dehumanizing. But it just points to the fact that there is this thought that she should be a certain way, and that when she's something other than whatever we've been socialized to expect her to be, we say something wrong with her. We don't look at, well, how has she been ill affected by, her experience? The sisters that we're talking about now, all black women. I've not met a black woman yet that hasn't been hurt. My mother, all my girlfriends, past wives, daughters, sister around the corner, everybody, every black woman. I've not met a black woman yet that says I've never been hurt. That nothing has never happened to me. You know what I'm saying? It's unfortunate. It's all too familiar of a story. But yet we're still acting like she should just be, unaffected by that.
I think the how-to is so simple that it's easy to deny, and it's easy to have cognitive dissonance and say that that's not the answer. I think the answer is encouraging and promoting self-love through modeling it, right? So that means that makes you accountable to say, do I have self-love?
Right.
How do I know? What kind of things do I do daily? I was talking to a young woman who wanted to know more about self-love, and these magic sisters are coming to me, and they're asking me, what is self-love? How do I know? How do I do it, right? And so I take them through their whole day. In one session, I'll take them through the morning and the evening. The morning in rising. What do you do when you rise? Do you just get up and start taking care of people? Do you get up and start, taking care of your man,
right,
taking care of your children, right? Or do you get up, you rise into yourself and say, what can I do to take care of myself right now? What am I going to plan to take care of myself today? Because it's innate in us to give. We are nature's giver, right? Give life, give joy, we are nature's giver. So that is it. Just because we putting ourselves on the front burner doesn't mean that you ain't gonna love and take care and honor and raise children and all those things, right? And so that's the morning for my sisters who have had time of the day, and so we have to learn how to tell ourselves, right? Tell ourselves, our child selves, that everything is going to be all right, that you're safe now, and all of this is how you rise in the morning. This is for people who have had those childhood experiences. If you haven't, consider yourself blessed and celebrate yourself. But in the morning, there is a portal of time where you can actually heal yourself in the morning, right? You can say, if there's anything hurting me, if there's any emotional pain, if there's any, that I'm going to take time and use my breath, use my inhale and exhale to heal myself, right? So listen, there are real ways that we can show ourselves we love ourselves the first minute we open our eyes. Then there's so many ways during the day, and then at night. How do you go to sleep at night? Right? What do you do? What kind of things? Do you take some time to reflect and ask yourself, did I do a good job in loving myself today? How can I do better? And reflect on the whole day. Tell myself what you're writing.
Keep rolling.
And I think breathing is a number one way to love ourselves, right? When we actually intentionally breathe. You're gonna breathe all day, and yeah, you gotta breathe. But when you bring what's outside, right, the abundance of the universe, into yourself, and then exhale what you don't need, right? Exhale what you don't need. Bring into the essence into this is breath, y'all. All it is breath. But in doing this is an action where you can actually show yourself some love. After you have given and given and given, it's at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, and at the end of the day. Give yourself some time. to say, I love me to yourself. I love myself. There are things that I'd like to work on, but I'm going to use this breath right now and heal and breathe yourself to sleep, sister. Breathe yourself to sleep. Even after you done took care of the man. Even after you done took care of the babies and you dog tired, spend the beginning of the day and the end of the day on yourself, right? So what we need is for as many black women to be on the journey of self-love. That is what we need as a people, right? And we also need black men to encourage the growth and the healing of black women. Period. That is how we love black women, no matter where she is, Brother Shaq. And that's what's hard, right? We want to be angry at her. We want to say that you did this.
Right.
We want to, and we don't sit back and say, I want her better, right? I want her to be a better mama. I want her to be a better sister, a better woman, a better human. I want her to be better. So I'm going to sit in saying, I need you to, I see you. And how are you practicing self-love today? How can I help you love yourself today?
The right question.
How can I help? We need the black man to pull back some of his ego and balance it out with spirit, because spirit is going to tell you every time, love. Don't fight. Love, right? And back up a little bit. Back that spirit up that said, damn, she get on my nerves. And damn, you should be doing better than that. Or be more like, okay, what can I do to help you? Did you breathe? Come on, let's breathe together.
Right, let's do it.
Right, let's do it together. Come on, I see that you're tired today. I'm going to do it with you. Encouraging, promoting, and modeling self-love is how we love the black woman.
Right on. The brother Vidal asked about the real difference between self-love versus selfishness. I want to come back to that. I want to talk about that.
No, we need to talk about that because there's some confusion.
Yeah. But I want to talk about it just in the same vein that you were talking about what the black man can do.
Yes.
So
we need you, brothers.
What I've learned over the years is, particularly coming into a sense of my own power, is that the most, I don't have all the answers, brothers, and we don't have to have all the answers.
You're gonna find your own answers.
But what we can't always have is the right questions. You see what I'm saying? Because if we have the right questions, we'll arrive at the right answers. And it's not all about barraging the sister with questions, but asking ourselves.
Come on.
So in order to be able to support the work the sister's doing, as a black man, we've got to be doing work too.
Do the work,
but
brothers.
Our work looks a little bit different because our trauma also looked a little bit different. But I wanted to say that one of the things that a brother can ask the sister is something that scares the shit out of a great many brothers that I've listened to. Fiyah. There's a question that a brother could ask that really scares the shit out of a great many brothers that I've asked, to the point that they do not ask the question. The question is, what do you need? The question is, what do you need? For the brother to ask the sister, baby or sister or mama or queen or however you, or say her name, which preferably saying her name is good too. But what do you need? That question scares a great many brothers because we haven't done the work to be sure what our capacity is. And we're scared that if we ask her that, then she's going to say some shit that we ain't ready to do.
That we can't do.
And that's gonna have an ill effect on our ego. So we would rather not ask none of that shit and just hope she figured out and she's okay. Now, we are only in that coward space because we haven't investigated yet how we're contributing to helping the sister improve her condition. So in being in a relationship, a lot of the work that we do is, what am I able to contribute? Like, what is it? Like the sister just said, he's not sure he can provide it. So right there, I want us to hold there for 1 second, Mama Fiyah. What quality of relationship are you expecting when you're operating from a deficit model like that? When you're not even sure that you can provide what the person that you're in the relationship says that they want, so that you do not ask them and you leave that unattended. Think about that for a minute. Think about how that sets the stage for failure inside the relationship, because you won't ask the question because you don't want the answer. So if you don't want the answer, you don't want to know the truth about who the person that you're in the relationship really is and what they really need. And that right there says that you're not going to have a successful relationship. So the fear part of it can be addressed by simply being clear about what your contribution is to the relationship. And so you ask the sister, what does she need? And then you deliver on it. And that's one thing. The next thing is saying yes. You can say yes. Not why you want to do that. You can say yes. And mean it. Like really mean it. It's okay. I'm taking a little bit of time on this, Mama Fiyah, because this is the place where we notice where the resistance is. This is the place when the brothers have to ask that difficult question, like, what do you need? How can I help you, kind of thing, and then really deliver on it, is where the resistance is. So we'll stay away from that kind of thing while the sister is over there suffering, and then say, what's wrong with you? You understand? Why you acting like that? Ain't nobody do you nothing. But we're not saying, how can I help you? Or what do you need from me right now in this moment? So in order to be positioned to do that, you've got to have already done some work or be doing the work with yourself to say, I can fill that need and I can learn what I don't know, because that's the other part. As a black man, we learn early on that we're supposed to know everything, have everything, and be everything right out the gate. And I can tell you, as a black man, I've never had that happen all at the same time. As black men, either we got time or we got money. Seldom we got both. And we are looked at as producers since our time here on the planet. It's all about what the black man can produce. Like, people aren't even interested in us as a person. They're interested in what we can produce, how productive we are. And that's been since the plantation. We haven't nurtured that in ourselves either. Most of the time, we don't know who we are either. We're trying to play a role. Playing a role keeps us from ever doing the investigation on who am I? And what I mean by that, brothers, is the way many of us would rather go to work or go hustle than to deal with what's really happening. We would rather get out of the picture than to confront the struggle that's going on there, because we don't think we have the answer. We don't necessarily know for sure that we can do it. And we don't want to find out in that moment that we can't do that shit. Our ego don't want that, so we don't want to ask that particular question. The sister said, what about the male having the feeling of being rejected when he asked the question? Well, most of the time, what I've found over time, Sister Nzinga, is that black women have been taking care of their own business for so long that they're not accustomed to somebody offering them any support. They don't even believe that shit is real. That's like the Easter Bunny to them. So many times they'll say, no, I got it, because they got a program in their head that say you don't ask nobody for shit, because when you ask somebody for something, then you owe them for something, and they got something to hold over you. Remember, we're using this shit as very transactional. The way that we've dealt with one another has always been very, very transactional, because we're coming from a place of lack. So we're looking at what I can get out you. That's in our mind. What can I get out you? Not what can I contribute to you, but what can I get out you? Because if we have the what can I contribute to you spirit, then somebody's going to say, oh, man, you getting played. Like, you don't buy no woman nothing. You don't do that for no woman. You don't, because you a sucker if you do that. So we got that in the back of our head. So that makes us, like, be real careful and cautious. We don't want to do too much because we don't want to look soft, or we don't want to seem like we a fool, or be played for a fool. So when the brother asked and then the sister said, no, I got it, then okay, just okay. But be prepared if she does, and maybe one day she'll say...
be prepared to ask and ask again.
Right, because maybe one day she'll say, you know what, I do need something. You know what I'm saying? Because black women have been hurt. So black women have learned to be self-sufficient and not even ask. To the point, Mama Fiyah, we done had this talked before and come up to where I've had the personal situation where I've been nice and generous and kind and sweet and just loving in general towards black women, and they mistake that for flirting.
Yes.
Because the deficit is so serious that somebody hasn't held the door before. Somebody hasn't said, so how's your day? Like, they don't even have the experience of that to equate it to something. So if a man is doing that, he must want something from her.
Yeah.
And she's learned that if she wants to keep that up, she may have to acquiesce to that. Not that she really wants to do it, because that's when we started the conversation off. We talk about all the things that sisters do to stay in a relationship, because they say having a piece of man is better than having no man, because they're operating from a deficit too. Mm-hmm. That's how come when things go sour, people are upset, because they're losing something. They thought they had a thing, or whether it be a relationship or control or possession of a person, and now that's not the case anymore. So they've suffered another loss or another hurt. So they're not as comfortable as saying, hey, I need this, because they've been let down before. So brothers have to ask a few different times and then be able to deliver to the point where you can maybe anticipate what she might want and just provide it, put it there and see what happens. But give her time. That's part of it.
And I think we're talking about when men are well and maybe the woman is not well. I think if both people are not well, that it has to be a parallel process. They have to be together.
Everybody
and say,
gotta be working.
Everybody gotta be working. Period. I'm just saying, like, we're saying, what can I do to help? But what if he's not in a place to help? What if there's nothing he can do to help? He's not in that headspace where he can even ask the question and not even see that there's a value in that.
Right.
So, it needs to be a parallel process, and nothing's wrong with taking a break from a relationship. I tell people all the time, it seems so scary to say, you know what, let's separate for a minute. We got some work to do separately. Nothing's wrong with that. If the love is deeply connected, if you connected, a little bit of time won't hurt. Right. A little bit of time to say, you know what, I skipped a step. I forgot to, I did not take time to really get to know me and really take off the mask and become authentic and learn to love myself.
Wow.
Listen, we can't be afraid of that. Who knows how long it will take, but if you have children and you're in a committed relationship, it has to be a parallel process when y'all encouraging each other. Y'all doing it together. And so I want to answer the question about self-love and selfishness.
Brother, be down right there, yeah.
So self-love and selfishness are two totally different energies, two totally different things. I've been talking about self-love this whole time, like what you can do for yourself, to what you do to prove that you're loved and you're lovable, right? We want so much to be loved. That is one of our goals in life, right? To be loved. And we don't even realize we're lovable. So we searching and searching and searching for somebody else to love us when we can prove to ourselves that we're lovable by loving ourselves.
Right.
And it's a journey, and it's very particular things that you do for yourself. It is what you think in your head about yourself. It's what you put into your body. It's what you intake in some way, it's and Brother Shaq and I are working on a book that explains it and so that people can understand it. But let me tell you the definition of selfishness. Selfishness is lacking consideration for others, concerned chiefly. This is I just Googled it real quick and it came up.
You too can have this definition.
So concerned chiefly with one's own personal profit or pleasure, right? Self-love has nothing to do with profits,
right?
Nothing to do with transaction,
right?
Nothing to do with that, right? Selfishness can harm others.
It happens at
Self-love will never harm. It's not about harming.
Right.
It's about what's doing right for yourself, right? It's about doing the best thing for yourself, which is all good for everybody else.
Right.
When you love yourself, this is what I know. I remember not loving myself, y'all. I remember that. And it's such a distance away. It feels so great.
Way back.
It was way back, but I remember it. And I was a drama queen, full of mess, full of pettiness, always, having fights and fusses with people. And I learned really how to manipulate and hurt somebody. See me? I was a herder, heartbreaker, right? I was so cold, so disassociated from the warmth of my heart, the sweetness of my real heart, that I could just cut you with my words, cut you off, break you down, all these things. Now that was selfish.
Right.
That was selfish because it made me feel powerful.
Right.
To do those things, right? That was selfish. And it was also, it coupled with self-hate. Right? I was hating myself. And so therefore I'm harming people. Right. I was hurting people, including my children. They had to watch me. Right? Self-love is almost the opposite of selfishness. Even though it may seem like it's the same thing, it's the opposite of it. It's that I'm going to be full enough to give from my excess. I'm going to be good enough to give from my overflow. And that's enough. That's enough for my babies. That's enough for my man. That's enough for the people I serve at the office. That's enough for the people I serve here and there. That's enough for my brothers and sisters who watching the True Love Movement Tuesdays and True Love Movement hours, because I'm giving from the overflow.
Right on.
Self-love fills you in that way.
Right on.
Do you think that, Vidal, is that clear?
Well, Vidal also asked that, he says, I feel the fear rise. Very brave question from this young brother. He said, yes, I feel the fear rise in me when I think of asking my wife what she needs.
Wow.
Because it is in itself admitting that I may not be providing it already, and I'm married to this woman. That's a very brave question, and brother, I can tell you,
a great statement.
It's very great statement, because it's probably something that most brothers have experienced and most have felt. So I want to tell you what it really is. There's a lot in there, but it sounds like a real basic question. But that's all an ego question. What's your wife's name? The reason I'm saying that is because replace the statements you made about my wife, and then replace that with her name.
Come on, Brother Shaq.
Like, say her name, put her name in there, because whenever you say your wife, you're saying your possession. I'm not being critical of you, but the way that we think about my wife may have little to do with who she is as a person.
Yes.
But it's an idea that we have about how we should be as a husband, and that this is my wife. And so if my wife asks for something that I can't provide, that's going to impact my ego in a very negative way, and I don't want that. So I don't want to ask Megan. Okay, her name is Megan. So you married Megan, you know Megan. You gotta know Megan. I would assume you married her. So the question is, how is Megan going to feel if I'm unable to do something? I would suspect that Megan has a pretty good idea about what you can do and what you can't do before she married you, unless you just lied to her the whole time and hooked her in there. So with that said, she understands and knows your limitations and your capacity only to the extent that you've been forthcoming and honest with her, okay, about. So if you have been sincere and honest all the way through, then if you say, well, baby, I don't know if I can do that, but I can do this. If you're able to do that and negotiate it, there again, I don't think she'll be disappointed. But we're talking about Megan and your wife. That's not the same thing, bro. And most of the time when we talk about wife and husband, we're talking about roles and we're talking about ideals and shit that we got in our head about how things should be. And subconsciously, we're projecting that onto our loved one with good intentions, but it still has more to do with us fulfilling a certain role and less to do with us authentically dealing with that human being that we've joined with, that we are quote unquote married to. Mm-hmm. So I think if and you said she does, so she knows your your limitations, and she knows your heart, brother. So that being the case, and she married you anyway, right? So you don't have to, I don't think you need to worry so much about if you're not able to do it. I think the better opportunity is in the way that you observe. No, it's not the same. I felt the power in it when I said it.
Right. Instead of saying my wife or
Right.
my possession.
Right.
It's a human being.
It's a human being with a name. That's a person that you love dearly. It's a different kind of energy, like you're saying. And so when you're asking Megan a question, you're asking Megan a question, not your wife a question. You're asking Megan a question, a very specific, deliberate question that has everything to do with her needs at that time. And I think if you answer honestly, you can't go wrong with that. And it doesn't, you can take the ego part of it out of there because it don't have to be. I mean, I'm not judging it. I'm just saying you don't even need that. You can just deal with Megan. You know what I'm saying?
And listen, when we start really supporting a black woman, we're going to see changes and we're going to see growth. We cannot be afraid of that.
Right.
I think sometimes we pour into someone, like we pour in encouragement and support, and then we see them grow, and then we get scared and say, wait, hold up now.
Right.
Now it's getting too real. Now you getting too live. Now you getting too bright and shiny. And now we want to put you back into your place.
Right.
And that's the scary part. The scary part is seeing her be so powerful,
right,
and so magical and so attractive and so amazing, But we have to be willing to say, for your children's sake,
right,
for your children's sake, she will be better in every way. She will be a better mother. She will be a better partner. She will be a better friend. She will be just better in every way. We can't be afraid to see her shine.
And part of that too goes into ruling out the presumption that the two of you are in some kind of adversarial relationship. See, that's an American construct that, men and women are opposite sexes, and men are like this and women are like that. But they say men are from Mars, women are from Venus. This has absolutely nothing to do with original people on the planet. That's not our shit. That's somebody else's shit. Let them keep that, because they're adversarial with every damn thing. We are not adversarial, black man and black woman. We are halves of the same whole. We are not opposites at all. We are complementary to one another.
We're not in competition.
We're complementary sexes. So it's not, if we're clear about that, we don't have to worry about, oh shit, what's she gonna do me? Because I listen to brothers' word, man, she gonna do me this, dog. If I ask her that, she gonna, well, think about what you're doing. So you're sitting there close to somebody who you think is your enemy. How successful can you expect to be in terms of having a relationship, a healthy relationship, if you're really sleeping with the enemy, literally? I ain't telling you I ain't never thought that way. I ain't telling you I never did that. I'm saying I've learned better. There ain't no way in the world that's gonna work out. That's for, that's not just obviously for black men, but the whole idea that we are in this thing together, but yet we're enemies. It just won't work. So authentically loving yourself is the foundation. We worry too much about what's happening with other people, and we haven't done the work on ourselves. And it shows when it comes to having to love the black woman. For real. It gets revealed about just how much, as black men maybe, who are even close to that woman, we haven't even investigated loving ourselves. And so we get a little insecure. We start thinking it's competitive. Well, if she get like that, then what does that mean for me? Instead of us sitting there working on ourselves, you see what I'm saying? Which is what we should be doing. Like you said, a parallel process. It puts us in a position where we're much better able to access just how we can support their growth, because we're assessing where we are with things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I think we gave some really serious ways. I think that we have kind of focused on intimate relationships and marriages and stuff, but this goes for our daughters.
Yes.
This goes for our mamas. This goes for grandma. This goes for auntie. This goes for friends.
Right.
You know, real friends. This goes for every relationship.
With black women.
Goes for between black woman and black woman, black man, our brothers, our little siblings. You know, black men and black women, and children. It goes for us all. And I think, I don't know if Mike is still on the live, but I think he mentioned his children's ages back in the time he was talking about like separation and affecting the children, and what to say to them. And I think he said his children were 5 and 4, which are very young.
Right.
And so begin planting. And this is for all my mamas and babas with little children. Begin planting the idea, the seed of self-love for them. Tell them it's okay to feel something.
Right.
That it's okay to feel, right? When children are 5 and 4, they don't have 4 and 5. They don't have a good sense of feeling words. Right. They may know happy. They may know sad. They may know just a few of them. And so there's something that you can download off the internet called Feelings Faces, right? And there's one with about 20 faces on there, and they show the face and they show the name of the feeling. And we can go through all of those things, all of those faces, and you know, maybe one of them is worried, and you'll see the feeling, the little emoji, and it'll have like worried eyes and worried mouth, and you can say, this is worried. Have you ever felt worried? You know, tell me when you felt worried before, and they'll tell you. They're 4 and 5, and you can say, yeah, that sounds like worried to me, or you can say, no, that sounds more like frustrated, and you show them frustrated. We're giving them language to talk about their feelings. Then listen to them. Listen to your children.
Right.
When they're going through a transition, like something like a breakup, we have to spend extra time with them, right? To make sure that they heal through it and make sure that they're okay through it, which means you may have to sit with them and listen to them. They may cry, and that's okay. We don't want to see our daughters, our sons cry. We don't want to see our children cry, but let them process through their feelings. Let them name their feelings and let them process through their feelings. So that was for Mike.
Right.
I hope he's listening. If not, maybe he'll watch the rest of the live show. And if he needs help, call True Love Movement. Parenting through breakups, parenting through trauma and all that, that's one of our expertise.
Right.
One of the things that we do very well, and even just a consultation or whatever would be cool. That's what we're here for. Like, the mission of True Love Movement is to encourage and promote self-love in our people.
Right.
And in our children and everybody. So this is what we do.
And I wanted to add, in supporting the brothers, there's an exercise that I do with supporting the brothers that really, Mama Fiyah, can work for all of us.
Yes.
Because there is a lie, and I want y'all to hear me. There is a lie that many people say. They say, if you ask them, do you love this black woman?
Okay.
Do you love this black woman unconditionally? They say yes, absolutely. I said, well, good. So the exercise works like this. You write down and create different scenarios with that black woman and say, well, would you love her if this happened? Do you love her when she does this? Like, you just create those scenarios, because what you'll find is they say, well, I didn't mean all of that. You understand? Like, if she do that, no, I don't fuck with her no more. Like, if that happens, like, you gotta really do this to see where you're at with it, because you want to say, I love this person unconditionally, because it sounds good. You don't want to say, I love them based under these conditions. But what we really have to do is investigate the truth of what are the conditions, so we can at least understand the truth of how we're operating, and give that person an opportunity to say, you know, I'm gonna love you up until this point. And y'all can save some time with that. You know what I'm saying? Because I call that secret ballot, Mama Fiyah. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. People say, oh yeah, no, I love you unconditionally. And that's not true. That isn't true at all. So we have to be real about how we're loving the black woman, and that usually they got all kind of conditions, that we'll love this black woman so long as she does this, and that. She cannot do this, or we're going to take that love back. That's the truth of it. So at least we can deal with where we are with ourselves. Baba L says some of us adults need assistance in expressing our feelings. Well, listen, we're here for that. You know, we don't have our people don't have a lot of, there was a time when we were not even considered human beings, and there's still many people that hold this idea that black folks ain't really human beings, to the point where black people walking around talking about I'm a savage. So when you're a savage and people say to you like, L, like, oh, there you go in your feelings, that gives you this response, well, I better not say that. I better not tell the truth. I better not be vulnerable. So you don't. You still feel it, but you can't talk about it. So where do the uncried tears go? Where does that shit happen? You see what I'm saying? So it's a must that we create safe spaces to be able to communicate with one another. And man, how bad is it if you're not able to communicate authentically with somebody that's your intimate partner, or somebody that's you close to, or somebody you're related to? You know, where's real love at if you don't have authentic communication? So that's some work we got to do.
Yeah, and listen, he's right. He's right. I'm talking about Baba L. He's right. I know so many adults that stick with the same 4 words, like happy, sad, angry, mad. You know what I'm saying? They stick with the same kind of words. Angry and mad are close together. They aren't the same, but they're close together. And listen, we need help on identifying feelings and feeling language too.
Right.
You know, and that's okay. Let's get those words so that we can understand it. I like to model it on Facebook. I mentioned like I be feeling overwhelmed last weekend. Boy, everybody was texting me, you all right, and all of this. Listen, they didn't really read it. I said I'm overwhelmed, and I'm glad that I can name the particular feeling. Now I can do something about it.
Right.
Right? And listen, I was overwhelmed for a real reason. And it's okay to say I'm overwhelmed. Right. Overwhelmed don't mean I'm dying. Right. Overwhelmed don't mean I'm crazy now and I'm not saying I'm fired. You know what I'm saying? So, overwhelmed is not a word that we use enough. But we can feel overwhelmed because stress does that to us. We live in a highly stressful, highly toxic environment. And so we need to be able to use the right words for ourselves and our partners. If I tell him I'm overwhelmed, then he knows not to put any extra stress on me, right? If I can actually say how I'm feeling. And that was really the lesson in the post that I did, you know, and the fact that it's okay for me to express my feelings, y'all. Don't be texting me and saying, girl, I saw you, you all right, queen. And listen, you don't text me if I say I'm good. Right? If I say I'm overwhelmed, then all of a sudden you need to text and check on me. I don't know how.
Fishy about that.
And it's so I just kept texting everybody and saying, it's okay to say I'm overwhelmed. You know, it's okay to say when I'm overwhelmed.
Being able to name it.
Be able to name the feeling so then you can do something about it.
Watch this. So that's 2 words, and there's some brothers who we've worked together and we've actually covered this. But there's 2 words that a black man in America has said never. I'm overwhelmed. See how that works? Black man ain't gonna never say, I'm overwhelmed.
Well, that's ego.
We know that's ego. We know it's not true. That's what I'm saying. So in other words, what a lot of the behaviors that we're seeing is a result of brothers feeling overwhelmed, but not feeling safe enough to say it, because ego won't allow that. You'll have another brother who is in way over his head saying, man, what you talking about, man? You better soldier up. You better tighten up. You better man up. You know, like you don't say it. You're feeling it, but you don't say it because culturally we don't do that. So I put that in there because you said that for the sisters, but I really want to say that.
I said it for everybody.
I want to say, but I know we're not a culture to black men saying, hey, I'm overwhelmed. But I want to say that because when a black man is overwhelmed and he's not able to say, I'm overwhelmed, he does other things like, you get on my fucking nerves. Or now he's mad. He won't holler, right? He wanna push and shove. You see what I'm saying? It comes out. I'm overwhelmed comes out in other ways because he can't say it. So it becomes some abusive stuff. And then people like, well, why you tripping? What's going on? Man, I got to get off my back. You know, I got all this shit on me. You don't know what I got on me. It's hard. And we do all that kind of shit. And we overwhelmed. We just overwhelmed. And we're not accustomed to saying, man, this is too much. you know? But what happens is it causes us to look at ourselves, not to be judgmental of ourselves, but analyze, all right, what exactly did I do to get myself into this? Like, how did I create whatever this is that is too much? Because I got choices. I can say no. Black people, I know black women don't say it, but a lot of black men don't say no either, Mama Fi. We say yes, we say yes, we say yes, and then, you know.
Then we become overwhelmed.
Then we get overwhelmed, and then we mad at everybody else.
Yeah,
we can't say it. Then we mad with everybody else, and then we causing all kind of other stuff. So we saying pay attention to yourself and be real with yourself.
Yes.
Be real.
Yeah, definitely. Authentic, real, genuine.
Like your hair. And
yes,
like everything about you, Mama Fi.
Yeah. So I think we talked about ways how to love the black woman.
Right.
And these have been black women centered shows. And this shows that our people want to talk about this.
Definitely.
Would y'all want to talk about the same thing with black men?
Yeah.
That's the question.
I think so. I think there are many black men, particularly, you know, we always say that, well, what about the black man? I mean, you know, it ain't easy for a brother, man. These women be tripping, man. Like, you know, I think we ought to get into that because we are so hurt that when we spend some time talking about the sisters, the pain on the brothers is like, oh man, I don't even want to hear that shit. They always asking a nigga to do something else. What about me? What this happened to me? Then nobody asked me nothing. And you know, you get that kind of thing. So the brothers are bitter because nobody's checking for them, but people are always asking them to do more, do this and do that. So I think we should also get into that, Mama Fi.
Let's do it.
We should talk about what it's about, and you know, we could flip it on why it's so hard to love the black man. You know, we could do the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
See that ego? That's hard to love.
Right on. See that?
She's
right. She's right.
Especially when it's out of balance. And
right.
Just talking about ego. Ego serves us in a lot of ways. But when it's out of balance, it's hard to love.
Right. And a lot of the ego that as black men we have is that we've adopted it from our white daddy. We really do want what he got. We want to have it just like that. We don't want nobody to check us. We don't want nobody telling us shit because we know the white man got it like that. And since I'm a man, I need to have it like that too.
The thing about ego is that when it's out of balance, that means spirit it's not enough. It's not enough spirit there. And spirit is what gives ego balance. And so we want our brothers to be well, whether or not we like the ego side of it or not. We want them to be balanced enough, right? So that they can enjoy life and they can feel feel good. You know, we want that for them.
Humanity.
Yeah.
Like us balancing ourselves for all of us is reclaiming our humanity. So understand we haven't been operating at our best because we had to give up some of our humanity to survive. And so now we are reclaiming it. You know, we are in the process of reclaiming it. And that's a process. It's not an event. Everything we talked about tonight, right?
Process.
Was all processes.
Yeah.
So ain't none
and
of this
everybody wanted to happen like that.
Right. This shit ain't just going to happen just like that. And you got it. It is a process. And that happens to be feminine energy. Everybody processes or feminine. That's feminine energy. We've all got masculine and feminine in us. So when we, as brothers, when we are adhering to processes, we're dealing with the feminine energy. That's part of the balance piece of it. And being able to recognize that and not despise that because, you know, not everything is going to happen just like that. And not everything should.
That's right.
Not everything should.
That's right.
Like this show. It didn't happen just like that. It's been over the course of 2 hours, family. So we give thanks for everybody joining us. We see we got Shantice joining us. We somebody else had jumped in there.
This today.
Yeah, that's right. We got Seti King. He's jumped in there today. What's happening, brother?
Hey, brother.
You know, great.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, great questions too, man.
And get good engagement. Thank y'all very much.
We appreciate that, and we would like to know if you'd be willing to share this show and other shows that we've done. You know, True Love Movement Tuesdays, True Love Movement Hour. You know, workshops, lectures, books. We got all kind of material and stuff that, you know, that's out there. But call us, give us a call and see us at the office at 504-309
Love.
for your wellness journey, because that's the work that we do. These other things are extensions of that, but
Yeah.
the real transformational work happens on a much more intimate level that isn't here live on social media. But we're just we're real people, not personalities. So we thank you for hanging with us. Like the what is it? Subscribe to the YouTube channel, family. Also share it on Facebook and on YouTube. This show will be going to YouTube tonight or tomorrow at some point. And give us some feedback and tell us what you want us to talk about if we ain't covered it yet. Because we
open to that.
We'll do it.
Yeah,
we'll
we ain't scared of nothing.
Now we'll tackle all the topics because it ain't hard to do when it's real.
Yep.
So thank you all. We got some comments. Great show. Great encore follow up. Right on. I can't wait till I find the type of love that y'all have. I love y'all so much.
Find it in yourself,
That's
brother.
right. It's really there. You got it,
Find
man.
it in yourself.
It's right there in the mirror,
and you
man.
will attract it.
Soon as you get that covered in the mirror,
yeah, you will
she
attract
coming.
it. She coming. That queen is on her way.
How they say laws of attraction?
Yes.
It's got to happen, man. It's got to happen.
That is a natural law. Let's go.
Right on. So, ways to love the black woman: listen, ask questions, provide support, and what else?
Encourage and promote self-love.
Encourage and
model self-love.
Right on. So that's what we delivered on what we said, and whatever else y'all think we need to do, put that in the comments. Keep the comment section live. We'll interact and engage with you probably on tomorrow because our self-care looks like going to sleep tonight. So I'm Brother Shaq.
And Mama Fiyah.
For True Love Movement Tuesdays. Wholeness. Thank you, family.